What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the October 28th episode of AEW Rampage. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when the House of Rasslin drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Tonight's AEW Rampage. Man, there is a lot to talk about, a lot of story progression, a return that I am surprised to see, but yet at the same time, I'm not surprised, but I am intrigued on where this is going. And other than that, man, this was a fun AEW Rampage for 1 hour. 1 hour Rampage. They always cram a lot of action in there, and I love it, man. I enjoy it. It's Friday nights. It's Halloween Eve weekend, if you want to call it that, because honestly, right now, a lot of Halloween parties are going on Friday, Saturday, especially Sunday. And then, of course, I believe Monday is Halloween. Not sure. Comment below. I don't know. Been real busy this week. So before I get into this AEW Rampage, I'm going to give you guys the results. So tonight's AEW Rampage, we started off with Jon Moxley defeating Matt Menard of the Jericho Appreciation Society. The next match, we had Keith Lee in a squash victory over Sir Pentaco. Then the fourth match, you had Ty Mello defeat Madison Rayne. And in the main event, you had the TNT champion Wardlow defeat Matt Taven. So that is the results for AEW Rampage for October 28th, 2022. But man, let's get right into how this show played out. Man, there's a few things I wish they would have tweaked, but other than that, I mean, I do like the fact that lately the AEW Rampages have had a more livelier crowd, and by lively, they've actually been live, so it's added that, that just organic, like you could feel, okay, this isn't a taped environment, like this is actually a real environment, it's live, it's like, all right, I can invest in this, all right, let's see what they got tonight. So the first match, Moxley versus Matt Menard. I mean, the crowd went crazy when Jon Moxley came out to Wild Thing, as always. And on commentary, they mentioned, actually, no, not on commentary, forgive me. It was an interview that Jim Ross did earlier, I believe this week, that he mentioned that Jon Moxley is very similar to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Moxley has been drawing those comparisons to Stone Cold the last year. 2 years. Even when he first debuted, it was subtle mentions like, oh, he's like Stone Cold, but then he made his mark on his own, and it's like, okay, man, this guy, man, there are pretty similar as far as Stone Cold and Jon Moxley. Me personally, he reminds me of a cross between Stone Cold Steve Austin and DDP at the height of DDP's run in WCW, which was like 97 to 98, those 2 years. Like, Moxley reminds me of that, just the people's chant that the people love to get behind and, just have that finisher. And I noticed that Moxley has been doing the cutter, which I don't mind. That's pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, this match between Moxley and Matt Menard, I mean, you had Moxley do the infamous Moxley stomps from the Blackpool Combat Club. And you could tell on commentary, they didn't make any reference to the Blackpool Combat Club being locked in the back while the Firm attacked Moxley and MJF, but you can sense on commentary that they're shifting. Like, we might be seeing the last days of the Blackpool Combat Club, which is going to be very interesting. After the stomps, you had Moxley execute a cutter on Angelo. Matt Menard attempted to perform the mock stomps, and that turned into a reversal where Moxley turned into a sleeper hold and got the victory. So, I mean, it was a really quick 1-2-3 match. It wasn't a squash match. You kind of knew who was going to win, but it was very entertaining. Of course, with Angelo Parker on ringside, it was like, all right, we kind of know where this is going to go. And the crowd just popped in. This is just another match to build on what Moxley has been doing heading into Full Gear. And it's like, all right, Moxley, just making Moxley stronger as he gets closer to Full Gear facing MJF. Post match, you had Brandon Stokely. You had Stokely Hathaway come out with Lee Moriarty, and he says, "I know you're pissed about what happened on Dynamite." He mentions next week it's going to be Lee Moriarty versus Moxley. They show a video package of Lee Moriarty. Then you had Moxley basically tell him, like, you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. Blackpool Combat Club, we had some for you, but after you're hanging with these guys, nah. And he's like, I'll see you in Baltimore next week. So Lee Moriarty, Jon Moxley, that should be a really good match. I know many people aren't familiar with Lee Moriarty, but you got to watch it. Like, there's YouTube, Lee Moriarty, after you finish watching this review. He's got some great work. I've seen several of his matches on Dark, Dynamite, and other. Actually, MLW is one place that I first saw him in, and he's going to be good. I know he had a few matches in the old Ring of Honor. So Lee Moriarty, Jon Moxley, that should be a fun match. And of course, we should expect some type of shenanigans between the Firm, MJF, and that whole dynamic. And this is pretty interesting how this is playing out. And I'm looking forward to how this is going to play out on Dynamite next week. From there, we get the announcement that there's going to be a World Eliminator Tournament. I believe they mentioned that it's going to culminate at Winter is Coming. So the winner of this tournament gets a title shot at Winter is Coming, which would be really interesting. The first participant they announced was Dante Martin. And of course, when they give these updates, it's Excalibur reading everything at 100 miles an hour. So you kind of get tidbits like, okay, world title, Eliminator Tournament, Winter is Coming, and Dante Martin. Everything else is like, okay, I got to go back and watch this again, which after I finish the review, I'm going to go back and watch what he said. But I'm excited for it and just to see who's going to be added into this tournament. Man, it just feels like AEW is starting to pick up some solid momentum, and they're starting to get back to having these multitude of stories within stories where they can go in so many ways. It just feels like for the last 8 months, they kind of went away from that. And that's why it just felt like, it's like, I like it, but man, I miss this. Like, where's this person? Where's that person? It does feel like that. Plus, side note, check out Malachi Black's social media. He released a video with all the House of Black members. So that's something to think about on the horizon. And of course, we're actually 2 months away from possibly an announcement regarding the ROH TV deal, which has been reported that it's going to be imminent. So things are looking up for AEW and Ring of Honor, and about time that these rosters split, because it kind of just got more Ring of Honor than AEW, and now it just feels like it's the right time for Ring of Honor to step out on its own and do its thing, and AEW do its thing, and just have two separate strong brands. And we win as wrestling fans. So, after the announcement of the World Eliminator Tournament, we had a video package of Jade Cargill working out doing pull-ups. And I wish they would have let the song start earlier, because as soon as she finished saying that, I'm going to make a point, then the music hits, and then it cuts to commercial, or actually it cuts to Keith Lee, which was the next match, Keith Lee and Serpentico, which was basically a power bomb, and that was it. Like, that was it. Like, that was the match. There was no just boom, boom. That was it. But the intriguing thing that happened was after this match. So the Acclaim come out, and Anthony Bowens is like, there's no rap. I'm sorry, guys. And the crowd is just booing him. And, man, the reaction of the crowd when that music hits, man, they just come alive. And it's one of the most organic crowd reactions that AEW has had in a long time. You would expect it when CM Punk debuted, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, but from homegrown talent, it's just, I think the last one you could think of outside of MJF, I mean, you could say is when going back to 2020, right before the pandemic, when Darby Allin came out, there was lights went out and his music hit, and the crowd just, erupted, and it was like, ooh, like it's very few moments that a homegrown talent has gotten a huge organic pop. And you could put Britt Baker on that list too, and Jade Cargill. So Anthony Bowens, no rap tonight. We have a problem. We haven't been able to reach Billy Gunn. He's not returned our messages. We see that Swerve's not here. They look at Keith. They're like, so what's going on? We put two together. Tony Schiavone's like, Billy Gunn couldn't make it. He had a family emergency. And like, what are you talking about, family emergency? We're his family. And that's what Max Caster says. And then we go to a shot of the Swerve Strickland. And it's on top of the video screen by the entrance ramp. And Swerve has Billy Gunn tied up in a chair. And it looks like he's in an interrogation room. And Swerve is like, it's spooky season, and I'm going to be the director, and this is the movie, and it's going to be Billy Scissorhands. And he tells Billy Gunn, you're going to go to the hospital. He shows some pliers, and you see Billy Gunn just reacting like, oh my God, like, what is Swerve Strickland, like, where is he gone? And you see the Acclaimed run out, and you see Keith Lee just like, what? Now, there's two ways to look at this. One, we're possibly seeing the beginning of the end of Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, or this is a big swerve where Keith Lee is in on Swerve Strickland, which, me personally, I don't think that's the case. I do think they're leading towards a split, but with AEW, never say never. This could be a big swerve where, no pun intended, a swerve for Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. But man, this is going to be really interesting how this story plays out. I'm intrigued. I did not expect Swerve Strickland to do this to Billy Gunn. Like, ever since Swerve Strickland has come to AEW, like, he's never had something this physical and cerebral where he's done something to opponents, like playing mind games and get an upper hand. Like, he hasn't done this his whole time in AEW. And for this to happen, it's just like, whoa, what? Like, it really shocked a lot of people. It shocked me. And I was like, whoa, this is out of left field. Like, whoa. And it wasn't anything that's like, whoa, this is out of left field. And it's like, huh? Like, this was out of left field. Like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, what? Like, a really good moment for this storyline because it just adds more complexity to Swerve Strickland's character. And man, he's a heel. Like, I want to cheer for him, but man, this dude's doing some dirty stuff. Like, he low blowed FTR. Like, he's doing all these dirty heelish things. And Keith Lee is like, he's stuck in between, but we kind of know where this could go. So I'm looking forward to see how this plays out heading into Full Gear. And of course, next week with the Acclaimed versus Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. See where this goes. So from there, we get a video of last Wednesday, and then we have a video package of Jericho Appreciation Society, and they're like, oh, is there any rules? And Jericho says, I am going to challenge any former Ring of Honor champion, not just world champion, pure champion, TV champion, tag team champion, and women's champion. So I did make a list, and I tweeted it on the House of Wrestling Twitter account. You guys can go check that out. But I'm going to have to go back and see who was former TV champions, tag team champions, and even women's champions, because now I'm like, how far and long is this thing going to go? Honestly, now that I think about it, this could go all the way to December 10th, which is Final Battle. So we probably have another month and a half of this open challenge by Chris Jericho, which, again, I've been saying it for a while. I hope the final opponent that Chris Jericho faces in this open challenge that takes the title from him, I hope it's Jonathan Gresham, because that is going to be a very, very good thing. It's going to be good for AEW. It's going to be good for Ring of Honor. It's going to be good for Jonathan Gresham because, of course, whatever happened at the last pay-per-view with the difference of opinion with creative and whatever was reported as far as the blow up and stuff like that between him and TK. Hopefully they come to amends because it would be a great end to this Jericho Open Challenge that you get the guy that nobody would expect to knock off Jericho or ever face Jericho beats Jericho. So that's pretty interesting. Looking, man, another story where you're just like, man, I want to see where this plays out. From there, we get a match between Ty Mello and Madison Rayne. This was an okay match. I'm not going to say it was a bad match. I don't know. I think with some of these matches that we don't see, and actually we're starting to see it a lot in not only in AEW, WWE, and a lot of these promotions that it's just like a timing issue where a person who hasn't been around a while, like it's kind of like ring rust almost. I could be wrong. I'll take that back, but there was just moments where the match was a little bit clunky, and from the way it was presented, I don't know. It was just really interesting. Towards the end, it was a good match, but it was just I don't know. It was maybe it's because their styles, like it didn't fully mesh. Ty Conti's and Madison Rayne's, so I don't know. It was just really, I don't know. It is what it is. But in the end, Ty Mello, she she did a running knee and then executed the Ty KO pin with the pin 1, 2, 3. So she won. I was expecting someone to come out and like confront her or do something, but no, that was not the case. And also to add on this match, maybe one of the things that really I like Madison Rayne and the matches that she's had since she's been to AEW, and you could tell her input and her influence on the women's division is starting to show. It's man with Ty Mello, man, it's the Sammy Guevara type thing, and that's granted it's her husband and everything, and it's personally I don't know them, but professionally the way it's coming across, man, it's the stuff that he's what's been reported about him, and it was just like the crowd was just like watching, but like it was just really, it was the same thing that happened with him and Bryan Danielson, where it's like the crowd was just, all right, we'll sit through this, and I don't know, man. I think what could be the best thing for them, because you're starting. Granted, they're part of the Jericho Appreciation Society and everything, but it's just the crowd. The no reaction. Like, they don't want to cheer you and they don't want to boo you. They just are watching you. And you saw that when her entrance first came out, Ty Mello, and it was just like no reaction. And it's unfortunate because, man, she can go in the ring and Sammy Guevara can go. But at the same time, with the reports that have happened and, things that have transpired in the last month or so, like it's a tough situation, and hopefully something works out, because man, as a viewer it's very difficult to sit through a match when the crowd isn't reacting as much as they do with other matches. Like it's starting to be something you start to notice with both Ty Mello and Sammy Guevara's matches, where it's like they're not even booing. Like they're just watching and, wow, that's a nice move, and that's it. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully, I hope that wrestling fans don't get stupidly ignorant with them and just say some dumb stuff because it's uncalled for. But man, it's unfortunate. But this match, it just the crowd was there, but they cheered a little bit, they booed a little bit, but it was, I don't know, it was just really weird. From there, we get a backstage segment with Lexi Nair and Ethan Page. She asked him about what happened on Dynamite and the firm and MJF. He's like, well, there's change of plans. MJF changed plans, and you can try and say that you're going to do everything the right way. And wow, it's interesting that you thought that you were the only reason you wound up getting the title opportunity. No, we helped you. And he goes into the firm stopped doing favors for MJF, and he's like, the firm is going to give Moxley a favor, and we're going to send MJF at Full Gear less than 100%. And he also announces that he enters the World Eliminator Tournament. So basically, after that, he says, I'm going to make sure that Mox, if he's a world champ, I'm going to do what MJF isn't going to do, and that's win the world title. So, man, this Full Gear pay-per-view, out of all the pay-per-views that we've had this year, going back to Revolution, Double or Nothing, and All Out, this one creatively has the most intrigue surrounding it. You kind of knew Punk was going to win a Double or Nothing. You kind of knew that Punk was going to main event at All Out. You kind of knew at Revolution it was going to be Page and Adam Cole. You didn't expect anything outside of that at Revolution. So with everything, this is Full Gear is probably going to go down as probably the most creatively interesting pay-per-views this year for AEW, because you have MJF, because you have the Blackpool Combat Club, because you have the Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, you have the Acclaimed, you have Darby Allin, you have the mystery surrounding, the House of Black and that whole thing. You have the video package of the Elite, fading away. You have, Ring of Honor, and you have Chris Jericho and his open challenges for the world title. You have, AEW's women's division and Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose and where that's going to go. So you have so much creativity and so much intrigue into these storylines that Full Gear is probably going to be AEW's best pay-per-view of the year without any backstage drama, hopefully. But it is going to be really interesting how this plays out at Full Gear. So after that, we have, of course, the backstage segment with Mark Henry, with Wardlow and Matt Taven. Matt Taven's like, this is going to be the time of Taven, and I'm going to win that TNT title and turn it into the Taven Network. Was it Taven Network champion, whatever the hell he said. And then you had Wardlow tell him, basically, I'm going to properly introduce the kingdom to Wardlow's world. So we get the match. We got Wardlow and Matt Taven. They come out. I mean, this is a back and forth match. This was a really good match. I think a lot of people maybe have underestimated this match or overlooked it, oh, it's Wardlow against Matt Taven. Oh, who's Matt Taven? Who's this? Who's that? I've been watching Matt Taven, man, since 2019 when he won, I believe, the world title at oh my god, the MSG event with New Japan and ROH. And the guy can go in the ring. He is a really good wrestler. And of course, watched him even more with his run in Impact Wrestling this past year. Him and Mike Bennett and Miri Kanellis and the rest of the I don't know more, but man, this was a really solid match. You had back and forth. Wardlow executed his freaking nasty headbutt. You had Matt Taven do a fantastic dive where it was not through the ropes, over the rope, and he connected so beautifully, man. He hit the nice altitude, bam, just perfect. And he was safe too. Then you had Taven with a counter kick from Wardlow. Then you had Wardlow. There was a bridge that Matt Taven tried to do to pin Wardlow. Wardlow did the bridge and turned it into a powerbomb, which I have not seen that probably ever, but possibly in a long time. It's been a long time. I don't think I've seen that type of move where a belly-to-belly bridge turned into a power bomb. Maybe in the early 2000s, somebody probably did it in TNA or WWE, but I haven't seen it in a long time. So he did that, and then he wound up executing 4 power bombs. Then he pinned Matt Taven with his foot on his chest. 1, 2, 3. He wins. Matt Taven comes in after the match. He chop blocks Wardlow. He's beating him up. Samoa Joe comes in for the save. He's just beating up Taven, and Taven and Mike Bennett are outside the ring. All of a sudden, music hits, and it's Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs, we haven't seen in a while. Comes out with a gold chain, and he's coming to the ring, and he stops right before getting into the ring. And all of a sudden, we see the Embassy. Yes, the Embassy with Prince Nana, Brian Cage, Tio Leone, and I'm forgetting someone else. Khan. There you go. Khan. So apparently Powerhouse Hobbs is with the Embassy. End of the show, you see Wardlow or Brian Cage with the Ring of Honor TV championship belt, and you have Powerhouse Hobbs holding the TNT championship. So could be a precursor to something that happens down the road at Full Gear and Ring of Honor's Final Battle. So that was the end of AEW Rampage for October 28th. They also mentioned that next week we will have Mike Tyson. Yes, Mike Tyson from Atlantic City. That should be interesting. It's going to be an interesting card, how this plays out, man. They announced that for Dynamite, we're going to have Moxley versus Lee Moriarty, Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal, the Dally Ass appreciation. We're going to have sit down with Saray and Britt Baker. Then on Rampage, Jade Cargill, Marina Shafir. Actually, no, that's for Dynamite. Forgive me, guys. We're also going to have Jericho and whoever's the next former Ring of Honor champion that's going to challenge him. Then on Rampage, we're going to have Orange Cassidy. Are we going to have that? Next week, we're going to have Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, and Luchasaurus for the All Atlantic Championship. And I believe they did announce the All Atlantic City Challenge, where the champion's going to face anyone from anywhere. I don't know what that's about or anything like that. So there's a lot happening in AEW. Just follow them on social media, and they're gonna let you guys know. But man, tonight's Rampage, the Swerve Strickland video with him and Billy Gunn, totally unexpected. I like little things like that on AEW, especially when you have a wrestling program on a Friday night at 9:00. Like, you need to do some things that are out of the box that people are going to be like, yo, what the hell just happened? Like, you got to use that creativity, especially at this time, so to get people tuning in, where it's like, oh man, it's that guilty pleasure. Like, man, it's 9:00. All right, man, I don't know what's going to happen, but man, it's going to be really intriguing. And man, AEW for the last few weeks, and it's been pretty fun outside of the backstage stuff with Sammy and Andrade. But man, AEW has been fun. Could it be better? Definitely, it could be a lot better. Screws could be tightened, and stories and all this other stuff could be, more fluid. But for the most part, man, it has been a fun product to watch. And a lot of these stories going into Full Gear, man, are really intriguing, where it's like, all right, I got a feeling it's going to go this way, but there's a part of me that's saying it's going to go this way, but then, man, it could go this way. But no, it could go this way, but you know what? It could go this way. Like, that's so much fun for a wrestling fan, because you just want to keep watching, just see how it plays out. And hopefully when the event comes, Full Gear, the payoff is even more intriguing, where it's like, okay, I want to see where this goes, because this led to this, and I want to see where Full Gear is going to lead to Final Battle and going into 2023. So there's just a lot of fun stuff with AEW right now, and I'm enjoying it. And of course, what's happening on the other side, that's a whole nother video, which I'm going to get to. Keep an eye out for that review for SmackDown. So again, this is my review for AEW Rampage for October 28th, 2022. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications so that way you are notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that,